In this video, we'll be talking about conditions, essentially checking whether a certain condition is true, and based on that, executing specific code. I'm just going to give a few examples because I think that's the best way to learn this. So in this example, we want to check if one number is greater than another. For that, I'll create two variables, each with a number. Now we want to check if number A is greater than number B. The condition is written with a specific syntax. It always starts with an if, followed by the condition that needs to be checked. In this case, I want to check if A is greater than B. I could also use other operators, like checking if it's less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. I could even check if the two values are not equal, or if they are exactly equal, for which I would use a double equal sign to check that. But here, I only want to check if A is greater than B. After the condition we've written, there's a colon. Everything that's indented underneath will only be executed if the condition is true. Sometimes there's a lot of code written under a condition. I will just add a simple print statement here that should output the text A is greater than B. When I run this block of code, the print statement will also be executed, because in this case, A indeed is greater than B. If I were to change the value of A now, this code wouldn't be executed, because the condition would no longer be true. At the moment, this code only checks one condition, whether A is greater than B. But I want to be able to check multiple conditions. So I will quickly copy what we have so far into another cell. Now we will write a condition that can check both whether A is greater than B or if this is not the case. The first part of the condition stays the same. If A is greater than B, the print statement should run. But now we want something to happen if this condition is not met. We can do that using else. Under this else, we can write the code that should be executed when the above condition is not met. I want to print A is not greater than B. You have to be very careful with the indentation style, as Python pays a lot of attention to this. So if the condition above is not met, the code under the else will automatically run. When I run this block now, the first condition is met, so the upper part of this print statement runs. If I change the number so the condition is not met, the lower code is executed and I get the corresponding print statement. Now, there's also a third case. The numbers could be equal, so I want to cover this scenario as well. You can handle additional conditions with Elif. An Elif acts as a second layer in an if statement and always comes before the else. After the Elif, I can check another condition. Here I want to check if A is less than B. If that's the case, I want to print A is less than B to the console. So in this condition, we first check if A is greater than B. If that's not the case, we move on to check if A is less than B. If neither is true, there's only one possibility left. A and B are equal. I will cover that with the else statement and print A and B are equal. No matter how I change the numbers assigned to the variables A and B, I'll always get the correct statement about their relationship now. The conditions we are checking always return one value, either true or false. We can take a closer look at this by copying one of these conditions into a new block and running it. So with if and elif statements, all we are doing is checking whether something is true or false. If the first condition is true, the code beneath it runs. Otherwise, the condition in the elif is checked. If the condition there is true, its content will be executed. If the elif condition is also false, the else will be executed. If you neither specify an elif nor an else, and the initial statement is false, nothing will happen. With this knowledge, we can also execute code based on a boolean variable. Let's take a variable x that contains the boolean value true. Using an if statement to check if x is true, we can now execute some code. If x isn't true, we can execute other code using an else. So depending on whether x is true or false, different code will be executed. Since my variable x is already a boolean, and the condition also returns a boolean, I can even skip the condition and just use the variable x directly. This only works if the variable is already a boolean though.